This is the morning of the 2nd of December. You want to listen to what Harry Simpson has to say. Plays for 9 minutes. Title: Breaking: Military Abandons Trump After Crimes Exposed. Have a listen.
All right, folks, look, we have some stunning breaking news reporting tonight that threatens to ruin Donald Trump's regime. Right now, Trump is trying to throw the military under the bus, blame them for his war crimes, and they're not happy about it, and they seem ready to come forward and speak. There's this major rift forming where Trump is trying to blame them for his war crimes in the Caribbean, but it's just not going to work, and they're not having it. And this was all contained in this new Washington Post article that dropped tonight. We're going to get into this and more in just a moment. Before I do that, please make sure to subscribe down below, drop a like on the video, comment. It all goes such an incredibly long way, and I'm so thankful for your support. But without further ado, let's get into it. It seems like the White House has the person they're going to blame, and it's not Donald Trump, it's not Pete Hegseth, it's an admiral at the Pentagon, at the Department of Defense. Pete Hegseth tonight, addressing these strikes and the ongoing reporting surrounding it, said, let's make one thing crystal clear. Admiral Mitch Bradley is an American hero, a true professional, and has my 100% support. I stand by him and the combat decisions he has made on the September 2nd mission and all others since. America is fortunate to have such men protecting us. When the Department of Defense says we have the back of our warriors, we mean it. So this statement might initially read as if Pete Hegseth is endorsing this admiral, but that's not what's happening here. He is completely shifting the blame, the decision-making from him onto Admiral Mitch Bradley. He's saying, I stand by him and the decision he made this day. He's saying, wasn't me. I didn't do it. And that's the exact same line that the White House is following. Karoline Leavitt was asked, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave the order for the second strike today. She was asked this at a press briefing, and this is what she said.
So that's why you've seen a drastic difference in this administration's policy with respect to the last, and it's one of the many reasons the American public reelected this president and support this Secretary of War in conducting these strikes.
So to be clear, to clarify, Admiral Bradley was the one who gave that order for a second strike.
And he was well within his authority to do so.
And a separate question.
Wow. So Karoline Leavitt is also throwing this guy, this admiral, under the bus, Mitch Bradley, saying, yeah, he was the one who gave the order. He was well within his authority to do so. It seems like they have their fall guy. And then later, she was asked, you said the follow-up strike was lawful. What law allows no survivors? And this is what she said.
Following up on Gabe's question, you said that the follow-up strike was lawful. What law is it that allows no survivors?
The strike conducted on September 2nd was conducted in self-defense to protect Americans in vital United States interests. The strike was conducted in international waters and in accordance with the law of armed conflict.
So we're not in a conflict, though. We're not at war. They're striking what they allege to be members of an individual group, but that is not a nation. That is not a country. It's not a sovereign area. So she's just totally making things up. And it's weird that she's saying it was conducted in self-defense, given that there were survivors clinging on to boat wreckage who did not pose an immediate threat to the United States. The right thing to do there is arrest them and prosecute them. But again, we don't know if the people on the boat that they struck were guilty or not. They do not know who was on the boat. So theoretically, it could have been 11, 12, however many innocent people. And they don't know. And they're claiming it was self-defense. It's total nonsense. And Attorney Ryan Goodman actually responded to this in particular, saying this has got to be one of the most painful responses to watch. White House simply does not deny the second strike was to allow no survivors. And the law Leavitt cites is utterly irrelevant. Self-defense is a non sequitur. It's not armed conflict. And no survivors is a crime. And the thing about it is the White House, the Pentagon, or I should say Pete Hegseth, the White House and Pete Hegseth can try to find somebody else to blame. But here's Pete Hegseth on September 3rd talking about the strike, saying he watched it live. So he knew about it despite them claiming he didn't.
So the president is sending a message to other cartels, right?
A very clear one. I can tell you that was definitely not artificial intelligence. I watched it live. We knew exactly who was in that boat. We knew exactly what they were doing, and we knew exactly who they represented. And that was Trent.
Lie, lie, lie. They did not know who was in the boat. They did not know what they were doing. And Pete Hegseth is admitting to watching it live, as in this whole Admiral Mitch Bradley giving the order is total BS. He was there, despite Donald Trump claiming he wasn't, despite Pete Hegseth saying he wasn't, using his own words against him. He was there. And that brings us to this Washington Post article where the military has completely turned on Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth. Quote, officials in Congress and the Pentagon said Monday they are increasingly concerned that Trump intends to scapegoat the military officer who directed U.S. forces to kill 2 survivors of a targeted strike on suspected drug smugglers in Latin America. The Washington Post reported exclusively that Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth gave a spoken order to kill the entire crew of a vessel thought to be ferrying narcotics in the Caribbean Sea, the first of nearly 20 such strikes. When 2 survivors were detected, the military commander overseeing the operation, Frank M. Bradley, directed another strike to comply with Hegseth's order that no one be left alive. People with direct knowledge of the matter told the Post. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, acknowledged that Hegseth had authorized Bradley to conduct the strikes on September 2nd, saying, "We worked well within his authority and the law directing the engagement to ensure the boat was destroyed." Her scripted remarks at a news briefing elicited a furious backlash within the Defense Department, where officials described feeling angry at the uncertainty over whether Hegseth would take responsibility for his alleged role in the operation or leave the military and civilian staff under him to face the consequences, which seems like a far more likely scenario. I mean, do we really think that Pete Hegseth or anybody around Donald Trump would ever own up to making a mistake? Do we think they'd ever voluntarily face the consequences of their actions? I don't think so. I think Pete Hegseth is a grifting loser, just like Donald Trump, who will do whatever it takes to protect himself. I mean, he has 3 different wives, cheated on virtually all of them, sounding similar to Donald Trump, isn't it? He has assault allegations, abuse allegations. I mean, this is somebody who only cares about himself, a narcissistic loser who will do anything for self-preservation. Quote, this is Protect Pete's Bull S, one military official who, like others, spoke anonymously to the Post. Leavitt's statement, quote, left it up to interpretation who was responsible for the second strike that killed the 2 survivors, a separate military official said, imploring the White House to provide more clarity. One official said of Leavitt's statement, quote, it's throwing us, the service members, under the bus. Another person said some of Hegseth's top civilian staff appeared deeply alarmed about the revelations and were contemplating whether to leave the administration. And that's something we can certainly possibly see in the future. There's been reporting on this as well, that there might be a mass exodus from Pete Hegseth's team, from the military generally, from the Department of Defense, because of how egregious and disgusting Pete Hegseth's order was, and how Donald Trump is looking to find some admiral, some general, some official in the DOD to blame for it. And it's not only members in the military who are concerned, it's also folks on Capitol Hill, including Republicans. Senator Roger Wicker, a Republican senator from Mississippi who chairs the Senate Armed Services Committee, told reporters that he had spoken to Hegseth and the Joint Chiefs chairman, and that he expects to speak with Bradley also. Wicker, whose committee is one of 2 in Congress that over the weekend opened an inquiry into the operation, said that he is seeking video and audio recordings of the strikes, and that once those materials are received, he will decide on how to proceed forward. Quote, we're going to find out what the true facts are, which is interesting. The Senate and the House, these committees in both respective chambers, are investigating Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth for this operation. And it seems like Roger Wicker is saying they're going to get the video, they're going to get the audio, and of course, Democrats will have access to it too because they sit on the committee as well. And then they will decide on how to proceed. But every single piece of public information is pointing us to Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump committing a crime. And there has to be some accountability there. Will the Republicans stand up and do it? I don't think so. But it's something that we, the American people, will remember in 2026. And I hope that, if we have elections in 2028 and Donald Trump doesn't try to stay in power indefinitely, I hope that the next Democratic administration is taking notes right now, because the American people want to see accountability, and we're not going to throw the military under the bus. Anybody involved should be held accountable. But if we find out that Donald Trump and Pete Hegseth are just picking a random admiral to throw under the bus, there should be even more severe consequences than are already on the table. And I think most people would agree with that. So you have the military feeling backstabbed. You have members of Congress concerned about this story. It's about to get very real and very bad for Trump and Pete Hegseth. So lawyer up, lawyer up. look, I will leave the video there. Thank you so much for watching. Make sure to subscribe down below. Drop a like on the video. Comment. Let me know what you think about this story. I think this is so incredibly significant.
You know, what's interesting is that Harry had an opportunity to tie both of these events together. Both of these events meaning the pardon that Trump has given to the ex-president of Honduras, who did the exact same thing that he's accusing Maduro of doing. Huh? I'll attach the link. Let me know what you think. Pass it along. And thanks for listening. And why not liking the video? Why not forwarding it to your like-minded friends? Why not asking them to subscribe to Kudaman 415708 or Gabor Zolna on YouTube?